everyone. Today we'll be talking about Polycystic Ovary Syndrome, commonly called PCOS. We're going to look at this topic because it's so common and a lot of women don't even know that they have it. Now, this is a condition that happens to women only. Say that, let me sketch something. This is just a sketch. Just a sketch of the female reproductive system, and I'm going to be using this diagram to explain to us what this polycystic ovary syndrome is. So we have the right ovary, we have the left ovary, or vice versa. Now, in a normal ovary, there is what we call graphian follicles that are inside the ovary of a woman. These graphian follicles contain inside it, and when it's time for ovulation, one of the graphian follicles will mature or it will enlarge. Then when it enlarges, it will release one egg, and that egg will be released inside the fallopian tube, waiting for sperm to come and fertilize it during ejaculation. And if there is any sperm that is being released during that ovulation, it will come here and fertilize the ovary. That is for a normal ovary. But in a woman that has polycystic ovary syndrome, this is how our own ovary looks like. Inside the ovary, there is a large number of small follicles that are not matured enough. They are so small. These small follicles are filled with fluid inside it, and when it's time for ovulation, none of them is going to mature. None of these ones will mature to give way for ovulation to occur. So in a normal ovary, this is how the follicles look like. But in a woman with polycystic ovary, this is how their ovary look like. So let's look at the causes. Say that the cause is not known. The cause of polycystic ovary syndrome is not something that is yes, it is as a result of this. It is not known. However, it is being thought to be as a result of disruption between the message passed by the hypothalamus to the pituitary gland and to the ovaries as well. Like when there is a disruption in this message, it results to a condition known as polycystic ovary syndrome. Now, let me also explain to us what I mean by this. Now, in a normal individual, let's say, remember I'm using a sketch, that this is the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus, which is the major area whereby endocrine messages are being sent, or even endocrine processes begins. So let's say that this is the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus in a normal, like in a normal ground when there is no problem, this hypothalamus sends message to the pituitary gland. Let's say that this is also the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland. And this pituitary gland will now produce a hormone known as follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormones. So this is also known as FSH. Now, this follicle stimulating hormone will now come to, if you still remember that our little diagram, that diagram that I drew before. Let me draw it again. Remember, this is inside the body. So this follicle stimulating hormone will now send a message to the ovaries. That is when a woman during menstrual cycle, I'm trying to give us just a simple rundown. The follicle stimulating hormone will send message to the ovary. What is the message it is sending to the ovary? It will tell the ovary, you see this your small follicles that is inside you, or yeah, it's time for them to start to mature. It's time for ovulation. Please mature one for me. Please make one to enlarge. Then the ovary will begin work. Now, follicle stimulating hormone will also make the levels of the estrogen and progesterone level in the body of the woman to change, thereby helping one of these ovaries here. It will help one of these ovaries to mature. And when from this size, it will mature to this kind of size till the day of ovulation. The day of ovulation, it will burst like this. It will burst and release this egg. Once it releases this egg, it will release it inside the fallopian tube on a normal level. Now, once ovulation has occurred, this ovary will also send a message back to the pituitary gland to the hypothalamus, please stop the production of follicle stimulating hormone. Ovulation has done what? Ovulation has occurred. That is in a normal process, in a normal person, in a normal woman that doesn't have PCOS. This is how her body sends message. But when a woman has polycystic ovary syndrome, what happens is that these messages that is being sent, this message now, the hypothalamus will send to the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland will now produce this follicle stimulating hormone. Instead, when the follicle stimulating hormone comes to the ovary will not receive this information. What I'm trying to say is that there is a disruption. There is a disruption or disorder. Disruption or disorder in the pathway of information between the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the ovary. The causes of polycystic ovary syndrome, like from that first thing that I explained, I'm trying to say that when there is polycystic ovary syndrome, that means that there is a disorder in the hypothalamic and the pituitary, the hypothalamic pituitary and ovarian network. Then the second thing that also leads to polycystic ovary syndrome is excessive production of the hormone androgen, and this can be also related to this disruption that I'm also talking about here. Instead of producing estrogen and progesterone that the body of the woman needs, it will end up producing more of androgen, and this is also as a result of insulin resistance. So how to identify that someone has PCOS? So the first one is irregular menstrual cycle. Irregular menstrual cycle is the first the first indicator that a woman may have PCOS. Now, what is irregular menstrual cycle? Irregular menstrual cycle is a cycle that is abnormal. Now, by abnormal, I mean a cycle that is below 21 days in length and a cycle that is also above 35 days in length. Now, what do I mean? Normal menstrual length. Normal menstrual length is between 21 to 35 days. Menstrual cycle length is between 21 to 35 days. So if a woman has her menstrual cycle length, like if you don't know what I mean, I've done a video on how to calculate your menstrual cycle. Like this is what from the first day that you saw your period till a day before your next period is how we calculate the menstrual cycle length. Now the normal menstrual cycle length is between 21 to 35 days. So if you are having 21-day cycle, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 to 25, 35 days, then you have a normal cycle. Now, an abnormal cycle is any cycle that is less than 21 days or greater than 35 days in length. So if a woman is having her cycle below 21 days or her cycle length is above 35 days, or that's also when there is absence of menstrual flow. When there is absence of menstrual flow, this can be all pinpointed to irregular menstrual cycle, which is the chief, in fact, the first thing that shows that a woman may have PCOS when it occurs repeatedly without any underlying cause like stress and cold. Then the second signs that these women also present is what we call anovulation. Anovulation is a condition where they don't even ovulate, like they cannot tell when they are ovulating because they are not seeing any sign of their ovulation at all. So women that have PCOS, one of the signs that they show is anovulation, which can also be accompanied by absence of menstrual flow. Then the third one is the detection of cyst in her ovary. In fact, this one is the chief major thing that shows, or one of the chief signs and symptoms that shows that this woman actually have PCOS. It must be detected in ultrasound scan, whereby her ovaries will be viewed. Then the fourth one is the high levels of male hormones, androgen and testosterone in the blood of this woman. Now, I will explain this last one to us. So, when it comes to the increase in male hormones, women that have polycystic ovary syndrome tend to have a high level of androgen and testosterone in their blood. And this androgen and testosterone are male hormones, which are supposed to be in low level in the body of a woman. But a woman that have PCOS, we have this. Now, let me tell us the reason why this is always the case. Like when a woman has polycystic ovary syndrome, they also tend to have problems with their blood sugar or with insulin regulation in their blood. Now, when a woman has PCOS, sometimes the cells in their body find it difficult to take up insulin, a hormone that regulates the blood sugar in their cells. And if there is any problem with the intake of insulin into themselves to regulate the blood sugar, it will make the level of the blood sugar in the body of the woman to increase. And also it will even make the organ pancreas to continue to produce more insulin, so that it will see if the body can take as little as it's needed in order to regulate this. Now, when this occurs, there will be high level of blood glucose in the body and also high level of insulin in the body of a woman. Now, because of this high level of insulin in the body of a woman, it will now go to the ovary. The insulin will go to the ovary and trigger it to produce more male hormones, something that it shouldn't do. I don't know whether we understand this. I'm just trying to tell us, because you may be thinking, how can a woman suddenly start having increase in male hormones in her blood? This is actually what causes it. So the third one, this one I think is the fifth one. There will be women that have PCOS also have what we call sudden weight gain. You see a woman on a normal level, she's not eating anything, she's not even stressing herself, she's doing her normal thing, and out of nowhere she will start adding weight. This weight is not triggered by too much eating, it is not triggered by carelessness, rather it is triggered by the disruption in her hormones. Then the final one is the sudden development of acne. Sometimes this acne, what we call pimples, come in hand with sudden weight gain. Now, there is one thing that I forgot to tell us when I was talking about when there is increase in male hormones. There are few things that it causes in the body of the woman. She will start producing hairs, increase in production of hairs in some areas of her body. Hairs, facial hairs. Sometimes it may not be on the face, it may be on the chest. Now, some of them that have increase in male hormones, you see this woman, their voices may deepen because what is in their body is male hormones, and their body structure may even start to change. They will start having that of the body of a man, and sometimes their strength will increase. You see that woman doing things that ordinarily she couldn't do, doing heavy things and doing heavy things that can be seen more in males. So this is as a result of the increase in the hormone androgen. Continuation of the signs and symptoms. Then another one is insulin resistance. Insulin resistance occur in women that have polycystic ovary syndrome. The body cells will refuse to absorb insulin, and when the body cells refuses to absorb insulin, it will make the organ pancreas to produce more to produce more insulin, which will now lead to high level of insulin circulating in the body of this woman, and it will also result to impaired glucose intolerance, because there is not enough insulin to regulate the blood glucose. It will thereby predispose this woman to having her insulin to be on the increase, as well as affecting the glucose level of this woman. So another sign is infertility, and this can be pinpointed or related to anovulation, inability of the woman to ovulate, because there can never be fertilization if there is no ovum or egg for the sperm to fertilize. So there must be presence of an egg or a sperm for fertilization to occur.